Wonderful. So, Sandra, you're a physician, you're a doctor, and tell us a little bit about your background. Um, what did you study, and how did you end up in a biohacking conference?
Well, okay, that's definitely a long story, but if we want to see where it kind of started was from actually my early teens. I had different kind of issues with my own health and discovered that with yoga and breathing exercises, I could actually change the way I feel.
And you're also a yoga teacher.
Yeah, later on,
trained.
then I started to become a yoga teacher too. But yeah, that kind of sparked the interest, and then it kind of expanded all over. Then I started studying nutrition, and I became a clinical nutritionist, and realized that okay, now I have even more tools to help people. And then I discovered functional medicine, and that was somewhere around 2000, maybe 9 or 10. It wasn't that popular yet. And I was kind of eager to find a doctor who was doing the same and kind of work together. But there was not that many. So then I was kind of like, well, maybe I should become one. And then I decided to go to med school too. But during that time, I actually spoke to Olli. Maybe he's here.
Dr. Sovijärvi.
Yeah, and I also asked him, should I approach this road? And then he was like, sure, go ahead. Good idea.
Out of curiosity, was that kind of a wounded healer experience for you? Were you struggling with some personal stuff?
Yeah, I think definitely, like many that entrance this biohacking realm, they all have their own personal story. Well, maybe not all, but definitely I had my own things to heal first before I could start helping others.
Right. All right. So you've been working on the Biohacking Woman online course. If you want to check it out, go to biohackingwoman.com together with Inka Immonen. And that is diving deeper into biohacking that is specifically designed for women. Why do you think in today's biohacking world it's important to also pay more attention to female aspects of it? Isn't all the material kind of working for everyone, or do you need specifics?
I mean, there are similarities, of course, but even the term biohacking has a very masculine sound to it.
Very engineering kind of oriented.
Exactly,
thing.
and often when we speak about biohacking, it's about improving, bettering, getting stronger, faster, more productive. It's very masculine, even the language around biohacking.
How would females approach that? What is the angle? Is it better, faster, stronger, or something else?
I think female or women in general, they are more attracted to softer, more gentle ways of biohacking. Like they can entrance this world, but they maybe come through yoga or meditation or mindfulness. As a nutritionist, mindful eating was a big one.
Right.
Women can do diets like everyone else, but for women it's often really important to get in tune with their own bodies, and they're more used to that with all of the things that go on in the woman's lifetime.
So there is a specific emotional angle to it, and what I've also noticed, there's kind of more interested in concepts like longevity and beauty, anti-aging, and just feeling good, feeling well, and psychological health, and so on. I guess hormonal fluctuations are behind a lot of these issues. It might be skin issues, it might be just mood issues, many things. Why, or just pain, like menstrual pain. So there's many things why they just want to feel better from the inside and outside that drives them to biohacking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the hormonal cycle is a big one, and it's not only that. Women go throughout women's lifetime, they go throughout different phases. There's the teens, and then there's the fertile years, and then there's menopause. So there's the constant shift going on. And women learn to come more in tune because they have to learn to balance. And many women are biohackers without knowing them because they have already like tried out a lot of things in order to feel better.
Right. Give us a little brief overview on the aspects or differences between men and women. This is also for the men in the audience, so you learn to better understand females. Like, what are the kind of key things? Like hormonal things are obviously one. Is there something else? You mentioned like these different cycles through which they go in life, and maybe they get children and all that.
Yeah, if we start with the hormonal thing, of course, like we all, women and men, we're all cyclical, but men's cycle is a bit shorter, it's 24 hours, and then you repeat that. But then for women, we also have this hormonal cycle of 28 days, and we go through different phases during that time. And basically, you can either fight that cycle and try to make yourself as fast, as productive as everything in every single phase of that cycle. Or you can learn to use that cycle and the different phases. But let's say, for example, you like to exercise.
Ah, okay. So there's a specific time in the month when exercise makes more sense.
Well, exercise is always good, but what kind of exercise you want to do and in which phase? So in the beginning of the cycle, in the follicular phase, it might be better to do this kind of like intense training exercises or strength training. And then after ovulation, when you have the luteal phase, then you can move into more gentle ways of like maybe yoga, maybe improving your flexibility, maybe going out into the nature. So you're kind of like balancing your own system at the same time, and you still get the results. This is what the science is showing, that it doesn't really take away anything. You still get better results and you improve your performance, but you don't have to push yourself that much.
Right. So it's like for all of us, like in terms of circadian rhythm, there is an hour in the day, like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when it's a good idea to do physical exercise, heavy strength training, and so on. That's when the blood flow is the best. So for female, that's kind of stretched for the whole month.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, the men can do the same, like exercise routine.
Yeah, I know we are quite simple sometimes.
But then for women, it might be smarter to make it a bit more cyclical. Like if you want to have a training plan, have some differences.
More intelligence there. So okay, so that's one thing in terms of exercise. Is there like something else that you want to pick up? Is there like sleep, recovery,
sleep definitely.
Stress?
I'm first thinking about nutrition, of course, because that's my first love. And that is, of course, also like we were talking about this. How do you approach biohacking? This is the same thing, how women approach food. For a long time, there was a lot of restrictions. There was a lot of calorie counting. There was a lot of fear of fats. And now we're discovering that actually female bodies need a lot of nutrition.
Right.
This is a complex system.
So today, females have challenges sometimes, like in terms of ovulation, might be that they're missing them or they miss periods. And so on. And what I understood is it can be linked in certain cases to intake of fats specifically.
Yeah. That's quite common actually.
Right.
And of course balancing not only the nutritional status by like macronutrients, but then also checking at the micronutrients.
Right.
The very common deficiencies that I see in women are, well, of course, iron.
Yeah, that I don't have that problem.
Yeah, and that is a bit tricky because then again, women tend to avoid meat more, and then also organ meats and stuff like that. They are not that common, and that would be a great source of iron.
So they lose iron like every month, and
during the menstrual cycle.
They would need more of that.
Yeah.
And you can use plant-based sources, and organ meats would be the best source in terms of meat.
Yeah, that's what I would find, because the common, it always comes like there's the iron deficiency, then there's folate, and then there's B12.
B12. So that's
And-
related to stress in the body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then you go like, okay, how can we fix this? We can of course take the pills and get the levels like perfect, but then if you really think in a long term, it would be smarter to fix the nutrition. And this is, like I said it before, like female bodies need a lot of nutrition, and even this kind of like strong nutrition.
Right.
And yeah, of course, you can get lots of good nutrients from plant sources, but often the most condensed ones are, for example, organ meats or like meat or some animal product.
And would also egg yolks be a good
Well,
source?
definitely, they would work, yeah.
So avoiding cholesterol might not be the best.
Yeah, depending, of course, with your genes, you may have to check this, but
Yeah.
most people can do well with it.
Like ApoE4, for example.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Oh, a question for all the men in the audience. Yeah, I need to keep your back here. So, if you have a girlfriend or a wife and they have serious PMS symptoms, is there something I can use to calm them down a little bit? Asking for women also?
Of course, like we spoke about, like in general about nutrition, making sure you are getting enough of healthy fats, making sure you're getting enough of good protein, making sure you're relaxing and taking care of your sleep. But then again, of course, you can check. I always like to check hormone levels. This is, I don't know, maybe some kind of thing of mine, but I want to see some data before I start fixing things. So checking the estrogen levels, checking the progestin levels, seeing if they match, if there's estrogen dominance, if there's something else going on, if there's really low testosterone, that might even be triggering PMS. So making sure that the hormones are in balance, and if they're not, then fixing them accordingly. Like we share a lot of tools in the course material, like specific tools for specific hormones if someone had measured theirs. But it's really hard to give general recommendations for every single person because we are all individual.
Exactly, yeah. Another thing that comes to my mind is about menstrual pain. So I see some females who have quite a lot of challenge, like every month with that. Like, is there like some specific nutritional interventions that would be very helpful?
Often checking out the inflammation in the body is a good idea. That just seeing with the blood work, is there any inflammation, and making sure you're fixing that? Because of course, if there's inflammation, it's going to be even worse during the
So it will
menstrual-
potentiate it if you have
Yeah.
like low-level inflammation. So you want
Yes.
to fix that.
Yes, and that's where the fats come in place. So we often have a poor ratio between omega-3s and omega-6s. So omega-3s is a very potent way of, adding omega-3s into
Yes.
your diet is a good way of lowering the inflammation, as well as using many good herbs like turmeric, ginger, to making sure that there is nothing too inflamed. That can help. Also, of course, making sure that the hormones are balanced, that it's not from that. And then also, I use myself, I kind of use the time of the periods kind of to check out whether I did well during the last month. So, for example, if I have been over-exercising, then I might get cramps. But if I have been pretty balanced and like not overdoing it, not stressing too much, I don't get any cramps. So
Right.
it's also kind of a mirroring your like month before you.
So that's why you said that it might be a good idea to put the heaviest exercise in the beginning of the cycle,
Yeah.
and then kind
Yeah.
of slow down a little bit closer to periods.
Yeah, even like particular exercises just before your periods can be really just putting a lot of pressure in that area where you tend to get cramps.
Right. If we take menopause females, what advice do you have for them specifically?
If they're like really general things that they are suffering with, like insomnia, maybe fatigue, hot flashes, I would say okay, first, of course, make sure that there's nothing medical to do. And then afterwards, of course, we're going to go for supplements again, but then again, like balancing the nutrition, making sure you're getting enough magnesium, vitamin E, zinc, minerals are really important during that phase. And that is something that's common for men too. So this is not a difference. Unfortunately, our soil is so depleted with minerals that pretty much everyone is suffering from some deficiencies.
Absolutely, yeah. So nutrient density might be a good approach.
Nutrient density, remembering that even though during the menopause times the weight seems to be coming on easier,
right,
we still do need the nutrients. So we can cut back with the calories if there's not enough exercise or the metabolism is changing, but then making sure you still get the same nutrients. You still need the same nutrients.
Right. Okay, so is there anything that I didn't ask you, which as a stupid, male, I just didn't come up with the question? Did I miss something?
No, I think we covered pretty well, like the nutritional side, the exercise part, balancing the hormonal cycle during the fertile years.
I have one question that came to my mind when I asked that. Tracking. So we have all these very manly gadgets for gathering data. And there are some gadgets that are specifically for females and some apps that seem to be pretty awesome, like for tracking your periods, for example.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not tracking by the calendar, definitely get an app and make sure you're your cycle, you're in sync with your own cycle, because that is really the key. I mean, women are not as fond of the tech maybe, so they might not go for every single weird
data
gadget, but usually the apps are pretty easy, like sleeping apps, and then also the period apps.
We have also noticed at Biker Center that genetic testing and blood testing is quite popular among females, and it makes sense if you want to understand your endocrine system better and your unique differences compared to other people. Now, if Christopher can get on the screen, maybe biohackingwoman.com. So that's where you can go and sign up for the Biohacking Woman course. Can you tell a little bit like what's in it?
Oh, well, lots. There's lots in it. But we have kind of divided into different sections and modules so that we cover, of course, sleep, nutrition, exercise, balancing hormones. We also look at work and productivity, but from a bit of a different lens than maybe in the general biohacking way. And then, we have also added in things about beauty and beauty care, because that's a big part of
it's very important.
Well-being. Yeah,
it has
skin
psychological
care,
components.
hair care, things like that.
It's interesting that you're not masking things when you take the biohacking approach, but you're fixing things from the inside, like starting from the gut, and you basically end up then fixing a lot of skin issues. And there's a lot of more advanced, more intelligent approaches to this.
Yeah, we do talk a lot about gut health too, because gut is kind of the...
Okay, Christopher is signing me up for the Biohacking Woman online course. It's for men also, if you want to understand your female friends, or just your difference in terms of being a man, or maybe you want to hang around with some cool females like Sandra. I don't know. So it's great that this community is growing, and there is also a Facebook group for that. It seems to be a growing interest, and it's coming like a storm. So at Biker Center, we want to support that, and that's why Sandra is now in our team, and Inka, of course, who was unfortunately not able to come here, but this is very exciting, and I learned a lot. We wrote the Biker's Handbook, and kind of we are three men we kind of ignored a few important things, and you're kind of bringing it back, and it's been very exciting to read all that material. Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
Cheers.